Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. Today, inshallah, we'll cover the third hadith from Riyadh Saliheen. يقول الإمام النووي رحمه الله تعالى: وعن أبي عبد الله جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري قال: كنا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في غزاة فقال: إن بالمدينة لرجالا ما سرتم مسيرا ولا قطعتم واديا إلا كانوا معكم حبسهم المرض وفي رواية إلا شركوكم في الأجر. In this hadith, which is narrated by Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu, a Sahabi was also a son of a Sahabi, a great Sahabi of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He became Muslim when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Mecca. He is from Medina, al-Ansari. He is an Ansari from al-Salami. And he is from Medina, but he became Muslim when the Prophet ﷺ was still in Mecca. And the story of that is, at the end of the Prophet ﷺ's time in Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ started doing da'wah to the tribes that would come for Hajj. He would go out in the season of Hajj, and in Mina, every tribe would have its own tent. And tribes from all over the Arabian Peninsula would come for Hajj. And the Prophet ﷺ would go there, and he would invite people to Islam. And one of the tribes that accepted Islam were the tribes from Medina. And hence the whole Hijrah to Medina, the door to Hijrah to Medina opened up through the Prophet ﷺ's da'wah in Mina and to the tribes of Hajj. And from them was Jabir ibn Abdullah. He had come from Medina with his father for Hajj, and he accepted the message of the Prophet ﷺ. And he also gave the bay'ah, the pledge of allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ, that Medina is a place for him to come, and him and his family members will protect the Prophet ﷺ. And then later on, when the Prophet ﷺ moved to Medina, he used to accompany the Prophet ﷺ. Him and his father, as we mentioned, were both Sahaba, were both Muslims, and Jabir ibn Abdullah had 9 sisters. And he was the only son. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed his father with 10 children. 9 of them happened to be daughters, and 1 of them was a son. And because of that, the first 2 battles in Islam, Badr and Uhud, his father did not let him participate in those battles, because he was like, if I am going to participate in this battle, I need someone to take care of all these women back home. If something happens to me, there should be some man who will take care of the family members. And hence in the first 2 battles, his father did not let him come and participate. And in the battle of Uhud, the second battle, his father was killed and martyred in that battle. And later on, Jabir Abdullah would participate in every other battle later on. And there are many beautiful incidents with him and the Prophet ﷺ. One of them is the Prophet ﷺ was coming back from a battle, and Jabir ibn Abdullah was slightly behind the army. And the reason for that was because his camel was very slow. So he was trying to catch up with the army, but his camel was extremely slow. And the Prophet ﷺ noticed that. So he went up to Jabir ibn Abdullah and said, "What's going on? Why are you so behind of the army?" And Jabir ibn Abdullah said, "Ya Rasulullah, my camel is really slow." So the Prophet ﷺ made dua for it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed that camel and started going in a very fast pace to the point that he got ahead of the army. So the Prophet ﷺ then went up to him and told him, "Sell me this camel." And Jabir Abdullah, he mentions that this was the only camel he had. And Jabir Abdullah wasn't a wealthy person. He said, "This is the only camel I had, but I did not want to say no to the Prophet ﷺ, and I also did not want to take the Prophet ﷺ's money, because it would be like not an appropriate or respectful thing to take money from the Prophet ﷺ. So he told the Prophet ﷺ, "Ya Rasulullah, take it for free." And the Prophet ﷺ had initially offered him 2 dirhams. And normally, if someone comes up to me and, for example, says, "I want to buy this iPad from you, Imam," I'll be like, "Take it for free." So he'll be like, "I'll give you $500. I'll be like, "No, take it for free." Would the person go higher or lower after that? Usually lower. He's like, "Okay, I'll give you at least take 400 from me, at least take 300 from me, at least take 200 from me." But the Prophet ﷺ did the opposite. He's like, "I'll give you 4 dirhams. I'll give you 5 dirhams." And Jabir said, "No, take it for free. Take it for free." And the Prophet ﷺ kept on increasing the price, and eventually he felt ashamed to keep on rejecting the Prophet ﷺ. So he agreed to approximately 20 or 18 dirhams. But he asked the Prophet ﷺ, one thing, Ya Rasulullah, can I at least use this camel to ride on it until we get to Medina? Because if I give you my camel right now, we're on our way back, I will have nothing to ride on to get to Medina. And the Prophet ﷺ agreed to that condition. And from this, the scholars of fiqh extrapolate that you can put a stipulation in any transactional contract that you have with someone. For example, you buy furniture, you can stipulate that I want you to come deliver the furniture and also fix it and also build the furniture. That is extrapolated from this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. But Jabir ibn Abdullah's camel and Jabir ibn Abdullah stipulated that he will use the camel till Medina. Or you sell your house and you ask the buyer that I will use this house for the next month and then the house is yours. So these are conditions that are allowed based on this hadith. So when the Prophet ﷺ got to Medina, Jabir ibn Abdullah, he gave the camel to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ told him to keep the money and to keep the camel. And the Prophet ﷺ wanted to help him out, and he had a lot of debt that he had inherited from his father. His father, when he passed away, left behind a little bit of debt. And there's another beautiful story where when he came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, the people who I owe money to, they're going to come visit me today, and I don't have much with me. So can you come? So they will be kind of ashamed to be very persistent in asking for their loan, for their debt. And they'll be kind of ashamed to do that. So the Prophet ﷺ agreed to that, but he told Jabir ibn Abdullah, get a bag of dates. So the Prophet ﷺ goes and visits Jabir ibn Abdullah, and the people, when they see the Prophet ﷺ, they persist and insist even more, because now they see that the Prophet ﷺ is over here, and Jabir ibn Abdullah will be very ashamed to not pay a debt, a loan that he owes other people in front of the Prophet ﷺ. So they did the opposite of what Jabir ibn Abdullah was expecting of them to do. And the Prophet ﷺ took that bag of dates and he made dua on it, and he gave everyone, and he paid everyone in dates. Everyone got paid in different ways at that time. Not everyone got paid in gold and silver. So he paid everyone in dates, and Jabir ibn Abdullah was like, I'm just hoping that these dates are enough to pay off my entire debt, my entire loan. And when the Prophet ﷺ finished paying everyone, there was enough dates for Jabir ibn Abdullah to even take back to his family. And when Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu got married, the Prophet ﷺ asked him, did you marry someone who is a young woman who hasn't been married before, or did you marry someone who's older? And Jabir ibn Abdullah said, I married an older woman, Ya Rasulullah. And the Prophet ﷺ said, why didn't you marry someone younger who you could enjoy time with, who was younger, who would have a more joyful personality? And he said, Ya Rasulullah, I have 9 sisters, and I need someone to take care of them, I need someone to help them. So I married someone older who could be a means of assistance from them. And from this, the scholars of hadith have derived that the purpose of marriage is not for you to be a tyrant at home and to control your family members and to be kind of this dictator at home, but the purpose is to have a very joyful relationship with your spouse. So this was a beautiful, these are some beautiful stories that Jabir Abdullah radiallahu anhu had with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's also one of the 7 Sahaba who have narrated over 1,000 hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a great Sahabi and a great faqih. He narrates in this hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was traveling and he was with his army towards a battle. And as we know, any ibadah you do, any act of worship you do, whenever you're going towards that place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the reward of every step you take towards that place. If you're driving to the masjid or walking to the masjid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you for every step. For every moment of you driving to the masjid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the ajr for that. So in this hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was traveling with his companions for jihad. And this is an ibadah. So as they're going, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is rewarding them for traveling. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells them that there are people in Medina, meaning they haven't come with us. Every step you take, they are also participating with you in ajr. They will also get a fair share of their ajr and reward in this. And the Sahaba asked, why Ya Rasulullah? And the Prophet ﷺ said, حَبَسَهُمُ الْمَرَض, meaning they were stopped or they couldn't come because they were sick. Meaning they had a full intention to come for jihad and to come and help the Sahaba and come help the Muslims, but they couldn't because they were sick. And this is the chapter of intentions that we've been covering, which shows that if you have a sincere intention to do something, or you've been continuously doing something, and suddenly you're not able to do that because of something that is out of your hands, like sickness or travel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for that as if you did that. Another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, when a person travels or is sick, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them the reward of whatever they were doing when they were completely healthy and when they were residing at home, meaning they had complete access to all the ibadahs, whether it comes to the masjid or reading Quran or whatever ibadah that they do. This just shows how powerful intention is. And this just shows that how important it is for us to be consistent on ibadahs, because there's going to come a day where we might not be able to come to the masjid for salah. We might not be able to fast. We might not be able to pray while standing up. We might not be able to read as much Quran as we want. But if we have that habit of doing it when we were healthy and we were able to, when we get sick, when we were not able to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, will give us a reward for that. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is trying to tell us to always have a sincere intention to do something good. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for you to miss out on that ibadah for something that was out of your hands, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to rectify our intentions. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep our intentions sincerely for Him. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reunite us in the gardens of Jannah with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions and his family members, just the way He gathered us in this beautiful masjid. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi.